Welcome to Tales and Tidbits, fictional stories for adults. And now, part 2 and the conclusion of Dancing with Deception. Chapter 5, In Plain Sight. Though the story about Jerry's past seemed outlandish to Paula, she felt she needed to investigate further into the matter. After her kids went to sleep, Paula decided to call her friend Gloria and asked her to do a background check on Jerry. She sat in her cozy living room with the phone in her hand, nervous but determined to have this conversation. Gloria's voice filled the room. "Hello?" "Hey, Gloria," Paula began, her tone hesitant. "I need to talk to you about something important." Gloria, sensing Paula's urgency, replied, "Of course, what's going on?" Paula took a deep breath. "Well, you know Jerry, that guy I've been dating?" Gloria was surprised. "Yes, I heard you talk about him. What's up?" Paula hesitated before answering. "Well, Marcus told me that Jerry is a high school teacher at Maple Grove, where Marcus and Marie go to school." Gloria was taken aback. "Wait a minute, he's a teacher? Well, that's strange. Why would he keep that a secret?" "That's what I'm wondering, too, but it gets even stranger. Marcus thinks that he's seen Jerry working as a mailman in our Wisconsin neighborhood." Gloria was now especially surprised. A mailman in Wisconsin? That's extremely weird. "Well, say no more. I'm definitely going to look into this for you, okay?" Paula expressed her dearest gratitude. "Thank you so much, Gloria. I really appreciate your help." After the call ended, Paula felt a mix of emotions. She was tired from the long day and decided to head upstairs to her bedroom. While sleeping, Paula had a strange dream about her late husband. In the dream, Chris kisses her before leaving the house. Paula is waving goodbye to her husband at the front door of their home when suddenly he gets hit by a car. The car speeds off and all she can see are Wisconsin license plates. She woke up in a panic. Paula is bewildered by this sudden vision and can't go back to sleep, so she gets out of the bed and takes a stroll into the kitchen to get some water. With thoughts of Chris fresh on her mind, Paula starts to look through a box of his belongings that he kept at his office. She thumbed through some of the files nonchalantly, just glancing at mundane information. All of the folders were beige, except for one green one with the initials JS on it. This caught Paula's eye, so she started looking through it. The full name was Jesse Stevenson, which seemed oddly familiar to Paula, so she continued to glance at the file. As her eyes scanned through Chris's handwriting, feelings of privacy invasion flooded over her, so she closed the folder and went back to bed. It's a warm Saturday afternoon, and it's been 3 days since Paula's last encounter with Jerry. She decided it was best to avoid him until she hears back from Gloria. With Marcus and Maria off doing their usual weekend activities, such as mall shopping and hanging with friends, the house felt empty, so Paula decided to take a drive. While driving, Paula had a sudden urge to drive by Jerry's home in hopes to find a clue that will help solve the puzzle in her mind. Paula turns onto Jerry's street and slows down as she approaches the front of his house. She didn't see his silver Buick parked outside, but she did notice that he had a garage. Consumed with intrigue, Paula parked her car a couple of houses down and contemplated taking a peek inside Jerry's garage. Before getting out of the car, she looked around cautiously to make sure the coast was clear, when suddenly she gets a text from Gloria. It read, "I found some very interesting info. Can I stop by today?" Paula's heart escalated as she read the text. Distracted by the message, she decided to diverge from her plans. She closed her car door and texted Gloria back. "Yes, of course. What time?" As she sent the text, she saw an SUV-type car cruising slowly from the opposite direction. In a panic, Paula slumped in her car seat, but kept a visual on the target. She saw the car pulling into Jerry's driveway, so she assumed it was Jerry driving. As the garage door opened, the driver slowly pulled into the garage. Paula swiftly put her car in drive in hopes to catch a glimpse of the license plate, but the garage door closed just as she got there. "Damn it!" Paula expressed as she cruised by his house. Moments later, she received a reply text from Gloria. "Is 2 okay?" Paula stops at a stop sign and then texts back, "That's perfect." Paula drove back home. She walked in the door to find both her children there. Marcus and Maria both greet their mother. Paula settled in and grabbed a drink from the kitchen, then joined her daughter in the living room. "What are you doing?" Paula asked. Maria blurts out, "Oh my God, Mom, look at your hair." Paula curls up next to her daughter on the floor as Maria thumbs through one of Paula's old yearbooks. Paula laughed while looking at the picture her daughter was referring to. "Yes, that was the look back then, and your mom was cute, okay?" Summoned by the laughter, Marcus comes downstairs, and Paula tells him to join them in the living room. With slight feelings of remorse weighing on him, Marcus reluctantly joined his family. He sees his mother's warm smile and immediately apologizes to her for their argument the other day. Paula forgave him and gives him a huge hug and a kiss. "Don't worry about it," she said. They all look through the yearbook together and enjoy the moment. Looking at pictures of Paula, Chris, and Gloria, they bask in feelings of sentiment. They came to a page with Chris's senior photo. "Oh, look at Dad. He was so handsome," said Maria with a sigh. "Ah, yes, your father was very handsome, and he knew it, too," Paula replied. "Do you miss him?" asked Marcus. Paula paused and looked at her son. "Of course I do, sweetie. Not a day goes by when I don't think about your father." "You look just like him," she said while caressing her son's hair. Marcus smiled warmly. Paula took the book from Maria and read some of the signatures. She giggled with each note, reminiscent of the people that signed her book. She came across an inscription that read, "Have a kick-ass summer, we'll meet again," followed by a signature with the initials JS. Paula thought to herself, there are those initials again. In the midst of trying to remember who the mystery signature belonged to, the doorbell rang. She quickly went to the front door and looked in the peephole to see her dear friend Gloria with 2 bags in each hand and a huge smile on her face. Paula opened the door with excitement and gave her friend Gloria a big hug as they greeted each other. Marcus and Maria stampede to the entryway, eager to see their Auntie Gloria. Gloria gives them huge hugs and marvels how much they've grown. Taking the bags from Gloria's hand, Paula asks, "What's all this?" "Well, I thought I would just grab some dinner from Louie's like we used to." As they make their way to the kitchen, Gloria looks around and says, "This place is just like I remember, but you've touched it up really nice." "Oh, thanks, girl," said Paula. "Just trying to make up my own for now." As she set the bags on the counter, Paula noticed the bottle of wine. "Ooh, you read my mind," she said to Gloria. Paula grabbed 2 glasses from the cupboard as Gloria opened the bottle. They laid the food out on the kitchen island, and Paula told her kids to come help themselves. Admiring the spread, Paula thanked her friend for dinner. Marcus and Maria eagerly joined their mom and Gloria in the kitchen and helped themselves to the food. Gloria made idle chit-chat with the kids, asking them about school and potential love interests in a teasing manner. Maria and Marcus engaged politely, then excused themselves to the living room area to eat in private. Marcus turned on the TV while Maria engaged on her phone. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Paula and Gloria catch up on old times while having a nice dinner. With the pressing issue of Jerry lingering in the air, Gloria asked if Paula is ready to see the results she found. Paula took in a deep breath and replied, "It's now or never." Upon witnessing that her children were engaged in their entertainment devices, Paula closed the partition between the kitchen and living room space for more privacy. Gloria pulled out a folder and commenced to go through the contents inside with Paula. "Okay," said Gloria, "so here's what I found. It's kind of sketchy, so I don't know what to make of it, but check this out." Gloria spread out the papers on the counter as Paula poured more wine into her glass. In a low tone, Gloria began. "So there's no record of a Jerry Clemens living in the Wisconsin area at all? But strangely enough, his name and image did surface in the database about 4 years ago." Paula's heart raced as she grappled with the implications of Gloria's revelation. The bombshell hit Paula with the next words that came out of Gloria's mouth. "So it looks like Jerry did live in Wisconsin, except at an address registered under someone else's name. It might have been under his wife's or girlfriend's name." Paula fumbled with a bottle of wine after hearing the news. The realization that Marcus might have seen Jerry lurking around their old house sent shivers down her spine. Gloria could tell her friend was shook. "I know, girl, this is some eerie shit. Are you okay?" she said. Unable to contain her curiosity, Paula finally asked, "Who was the address registered under?" Gloria, engrossed in her files, delivered the name with a note of intrigue. "Jessica Stevenson," she replied. Paula paused, as if she was a deer in headlights, fixated on the name. Gloria continued, "Funny thing is, I can't find any surveillance on her coming or going from the house, only of Jerry." "Jessica Stevenson," Paula repeated to herself, the name echoing in her mind. She repeated the initials J.S. over and over again in her mind as Gloria continued with her brief. "So I did a little bit of digging on Jessica, and it turns out she was admitted into a psychiatric ward back in 2016. Paula took another sip of wine, engrossed in the name Jessica Stevenson and the initials J.S. Then suddenly she dropped her glass and started breathing heavily from her revelation. Gloria is frightened by her friend's sudden mood change. "Oh, shit! Paula, what's going on?" Without a word, Paula dashed into the living room, picked up the yearbook she was looking at earlier, and rummaged through the pages, searching for the name Jessica Stevenson. She finally landed on the page with her picture. As Gloria witnessed her friend in a manic state, she continued to ask what's going on. But Paula is too lost in her thoughts to answer. She finally locates the page with Jessica's picture and studies the photo hard, noticing a strange familiarity in her eyes. As Paula read the inscription that Jessica wrote in her book, she remembered Jerry saying the same thing to her on their date. Paula's hands were shaking as she gave Gloria the book. Breathing hard, she said, "This is Jessica Stevenson. Look, she even wrote in my yearbook. And Jerry said that same thing to me on our first date." Noticing the ruckus, Marcus turned down the TV to hear his mother's conversation with Gloria. "What do you think's going on?" his sister inquired. "I don't know. All I heard was something about a Jessica Stevenson or something." Back in the living room, Gloria questions her friend. "So you're saying you think that this is the Jessica Stevenson that lived in Wisconsin?" Paula started putting all the pieces together mentally. "So that's why he's taking hormone pills," she said to herself out loud. "What? What hormone pills?" Gloria asked in bewilderment. Paula looked at her friend and replied, "Gloria, I think that Jerry might be sick. I mean, really sick." "What? What happened?" Gloria demanded. Paula begins to explain in a rushed pace while breathing heavily. "Okay, so on our second date, I go back to his place, and I have to use the bathroom, and I find these hormone pills in his medicine cabinet." Paula begins to feel faint as she comes to the realization of who Jerry could be. "I think I'm going to be sick." She sat down on the kitchen stool, trying to gain her composure. Gloria sat beside her and coached her to take deep breaths. Paula then muttered, "I think Jerry used to be Jessica." "Say what?" Gloria's eyebrows knitted together as she tried to process Paula's unexpected revelation. Paula leaned in, her voice hushed. "I just have this strange feeling that Jerry may have been Jessica. I mean, why else would he take hormone pills?" The air in the room thickened with suspense. As Gloria attempted to find reason in the unfolding mystery, she interjected cautiously, "Well, this could all be a strange coincidence or something. Maybe they're not even his." Unheeding of Gloria's attempt to introduce skepticism, Paula continued to spew out her conclusions, her tone escalating with each revelation. "And you have proof that he lived in Wisconsin with Jessica Stevenson." As their evidence sunk in, Gloria folded to the realization. "Oh my God, this is some Alfred Hitchcock type shit," Gloria exclaimed, her eyes widening. The suspense lingered thick in the air as Gloria stood up, pacing the room. Gloria pondered out loud. "So why would Jessica or Jerry be stalking your family in Wisconsin? That's the part I don't get." Gloria paused in thought, then pulled out her laptop from her briefcase. "But let's find out," she said. Gloria logged into her VIP background database and began searching diligently. Moments later, she uncovered some very disturbing history on Jessica. 8 years prior, Jessica had managed to escape from a mental institution. Her confinement had followed a string of harrowing mental breakdowns, leading to a diagnosis of a severe psychological disorder. As Gloria continued to read the information she found on Jessica out loud, Paula stared off into the distance, bewildered, frightened, and terribly confused. Paula's mind drifted to a memory when whispers of betrayal clouded her marriage to Chris. Strange calls haunting in their silence and cryptic messages cast shadows of doubt upon their once unshakable bond. Though Chris denied the accusations, their marriage teetered on the brink of collapse, yet held together by the fragile threads of love and trust. As Gloria concluded her findings on Jerry's past, a light went off in Paula's mind, and she hurriedly said, "Wait a minute. Chris has a file on someone with the initials J.S." Paula hurriedly went up to the bedroom with Gloria following closely behind. She grabbed a folder from the floor and pulled out a paper, thrusting it towards Gloria. "See? Look," said Paula, the suspense hanging in the air as Gloria took the paper, their eyes fixed on the unfolding revelation. She scanned the files and gasped as she saw the handwritten note saying, "Gender unknown." "Paula, did you see this?" Paula grabbed the paper and started shaking as she read the evidence. "Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God," she chanted in a panic while pacing the study. "Wait a minute. So Chris was treating Jessica or Jessie?" Gloria concluded. The year is now 1991 in the dimly lit halls of Maple Grove High School. Jessica's fixation on Paula began to fester like a dark shadow, lurking unnoticed until it enveloped her entirely. It was during their junior year, a time when the complexities of teenage life intertwined with the cruel dance of adolescence. Paula was not the typical high school queen, though admired by many for her genuine nature. Unlike the superficial allure of popularity, Paula's authenticity stood out like a guiding light in the midst of adolescent superficiality. Jessica, as an outcast, was drawn to Paula's warmth and sincerity like a moth to a flame. Their meeting seemed ordinary at first, but it left a lasting impression on Jessica. Paired together for a group project, Paula's kindness broke through Jessica's isolation, offering her a sense of recognition she had never experienced before. As for Paula, her kindness towards Jessica was simply a natural part of her character, a small act in the grand scheme of her life. However, for Jessica, it became a lifeline amidst the turmoil of her existence. She found herself fixated on Paula, her obsession growing with each passing day until it consumed her completely. Meanwhile, amidst the backdrop of high school drama, Paula's own story unfolded. She found a connection with Chris, the star athlete known for his magnetic charm, when they met in drama class. Their chemistry was undeniable, sparking a shared talent that illuminated the stage with their brilliance. As Chris and Paula's friendship blossomed, Jessica's infatuation spiraled into a labyrinth of obsession. 17 years later, Paula and Chris rooted themselves in Wisconsin and started a family. Chris had a successful psychiatric practice, and Paula was a professional editor. Jessica's insatiable fixation drove her to follow Paula to Wisconsin. She sought solace in the guise of therapy by entering Chris's world under the pseudonym of Jesse Stevenson, a shadowy figure lurking in the depths of his professional domain. Chris, unaware of the darkness lurking beneath the surface, offered his guidance with compassion, only to realize too late the depths of Jessica's troubled mind. As he intervened, urging her towards the light of extended professional help, Jessica's fury simmered beneath the facade of compliance. Admitted against her will, Jessica's fury smoldered like the embers awaiting the spark of vengeance. A year later, she emerged from the confines of the institution, reborn as Jerry. Back in real time, "So Jessica must have changed her name to Jessie and then to Jerry, but his last name is Clemens," said Gloria. Paula then sighed, feeling the weight of the revelation. "So people change their names all the time." Paula begins to unravel in a whirlwind of thoughts. "My God, has he been planning this the whole time? What does he want from us? From me?" Meanwhile, Marcus and Maria noticed the obvious stir that has taken place and hurriedly joined their mom and Gloria upstairs to investigate. "Hey, Mom, what's going on?" asked Marcus. Paula exhales, unable to mask her emotions. "It's Jerry. We found out some very disturbing information about him." "You mean more disturbing information?" added Marcus. Paula gave her son a look and shook her head. "You were right, honey. It's very possible that you saw Jerry that day you stayed home from school. It turns out he used to live in Wisconsin." "I told you! What else have you found?" blurted Marcus. Calm down, Marcus, his sister implored. Paula looked at Gloria for reassurance, as she is reluctant to tell her children what they discovered. Paula becomes overwhelmed with distraught and says, "This is just beyond fucked up. I don't even know where to start." Paula takes a deep breath again, then tells Marcus and Maria her discovery about Jerry and how it links back to their father. In a shaking voice, Maria asks, "What are you saying, Mom? Are you saying that Jerry might have had something to do with Dad's death?" Her eyes widen and begin to swell up with tears. Still flustered, Paula replies reluctantly, "Yes, that's what I think." Succumbed to the frightening news, Maria embraces her mom. "Mom, I'm scared." Paula gathers herself. "Don't be, baby. I won't let anything happen to any of you or me." "So now what?" questioned Marcus with a shrill of anxiety in his voice. "I think we should call the police and have him arrested." "Well, that's just it, honey. We don't have proof of what happened that night with your father's car. So, at this point, I really don't know what to do. But we will think of something." That night, Gloria stayed over and brainstormed with Paula on how to dispense of Jerry. As they labored through the night, ideas were tossed back and forth like a fragile lifeline. Finally, with the first light of dawn creeping through the curtains, they pierced together a plan. "I'll invite Jerry out to dinner," Paula proposed, her voice laced with slight energy. "While he's occupied, you search his place for evidence." Gloria's eyelids popped at the idea. "That's it! We got a plan." Chapter 6, The Plan. In the fading light of a Thursday evening, Paula and Gloria reached their destinations, ready to act out their plan like a game of chess. As Paula waited in the swanky restaurant for Jerry's arrival, tension hung in the air like a heavy fog, threatening to suffocate their resolve. Paula's eyes flicked to the clock, the minutes ticking by with agonizing slowness. 7:15 p.m. Jerry was already 15 minutes late, and Paula's nerves began to fray at the edges. The weight of anticipation bore down on her, a palpable sense of unease settling in her stomach. Meanwhile, in the shadows of Jerry's house, Gloria delved into a labyrinth of secrets. Her hands trembled as she unearthed a trove of photographs, each one a damning piece of evidence in the puzzle of Jerry's obsession. Pictures of Paula adorned the walls like a shrine, her image hauntingly omnipresent. With a sinking heart, Gloria realized the depths of Jerry's fixation. As she documented her findings, a sudden knock shattered the silence, jolting Gloria back to reality. Her heart pounding, she crept to the door, where an unexpected envelope lay in wait. With shaking hands, she tore it open, revealing a school transfer document, a sinister clue in the tangled web of Jerry's deceit. Simultaneously across town, Jerry's late arrival at the restaurant was met with Paula's forced smiles and strained pleasantries. He presented Paula with a bouquet of pink roses, his eyes alight with anticipation. "These are for you," Jerry declared, his voice tinged with a hint of eagerness and uncertainty. Paula forced a tight smile as she accepted the flowers, her stomach churning with a mixture of dread and revulsion. "Oh, flowers again," she replied, her voice strained with feigned enthusiasm. Jerry leaned in, his lips brushed against Paula's cheek in a gesture that made her skin crawl. "I missed you," he murmured, his breath hot against her skin. Paula's stomach churned as she turned her face away, discreetly wiping her cheek as she fought to maintain her composure. As they settled at the table, Paula attempted to steady her nerves with deep breaths. Jerry, ever observant, sensed a shift in Paula's demeanor and inquired about her well-being. "Are you okay?" he asked, his concern evident in his tone. Paula forced a smile, her voice betraying a hint of tension. "Yeah, it's just been a while since I've seen you. Honestly, I'm feeling a little nervous," Paula admitted before swiftly changing the subject. "So, how have you been?" As Jerry began to respond, Paula's mind raced with urgency. She discreetly reached for her phone and discovered the missed text from Gloria. As Paula read the text, relief showered upon her. It read, "Got plenty, heading out." She sent a quick reply to Gloria, her fingers moving with practiced efficiency as she typed, "With him now, I'll wrap it up in about 15-20. Jerry glanced at Paula, his brow furrowing slightly as he noticed her texting, but he chose not to address it. Meanwhile, Paula's phone chimed with Gloria's reply. Paula glanced at her phone again. Jerry, sensing something amiss, pressed further, asking if everything was truly okay. Paula hesitated, concocting a plausible explanation. I was just waiting to hear back from my kids, but everything's fine, she assured him. Though Jerry remained unconvinced. Their conversation was momentarily interrupted by a young waiter, his clean-cut appearance contrasting with the tense atmosphere. He approached their table with a polite smile, ready to take the order. Jerry pursues the menu before returning to Paula with a curious expression. What are you in the mood for? He inquires. Paula considers for a moment before replying. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'll have a cranberry and soda for now, she says to the waiter. You're not having a drink? Jerry probed. Paula shakes her head and explains, maybe later, after I've eaten something. The waiter suggested some appetizers while they deliberate, and they agreed upon his request. Then he left the table. Meanwhile, with Gloria's message on her mind, Paula found herself torn between eagerness to end the date with Jerry and her sudden urge to confront him about his deceit. Jerry stared at Paula with a scrutinizing gaze. You seem different, he remarked, his tone laced with curiosity. Paula replied, different in a good way, or... Paula trailed off, her voice tinged with uncertainty as she touched her hair nervously. Well, you always look good. It's just that you seem preoccupied, like something's on your mind that you're not telling me. Jerry continued to observe Paula, which made her very uncomfortable. She searched for an excuse beyond her children, yet seized what she deemed the opportune time to confront Jerry. As the waiter returned with their drinks, Paula requested a few more minutes to decide on their order. Of course, take your time, the waiter replied courteously before departing again. Paula took a slow and methodic sip of her drink, collecting her thoughts before speaking. Then, with sheer confidence, she replied, Well, to tell you the truth, I'm a little confused. Confused about what? Jerry inquired. Why didn't you tell me you were a teacher at Maple Grove High School? Jerry shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his smirk betraying his embarrassment. How did you know that? He countered. It doesn't matter. Why couldn't you just tell me? Paula pressed while studying his body language. Okay, I confess. I was just trying to impress you. But in all fairness, I am a chemistry teacher, so it wasn't a total lie, Jerry explained, attempting to downplay the situation. An awkward pause followed. So, what, this is a deal breaker or something? Not at all. It's just that Paula's dishonest response was interrupted by Jerry's added remark. We can't all be successful doctors like your husband, Jerry interjected, not realizing he may have overstepped. Paula's suspicions deepened. Wait a minute. How did you know that Chris was a doctor? I never told you that. Jerry stammered slightly, caught off guard. You did tell me. You must have forgotten, or else how would I have known? He offered weakly. Paula's heart quickens its pace as yet another piece of evidence aligns with her suspicions. Her mind raced back to the moment Jerry casually mentioned her having 2 kids when they first met. With a growing urgency to end the date, Paula discreetly texted Gloria to check on her status. Growing frustrated by Paula's constant distraction, Jerry blurted out, So are you texting your other boyfriend or something? You've been on your phone since I walked in the door. Paula could sense that Jerry was teetering on the edge, so she maintained a composed facade while internally longing to escape his presence. As the waiter approached the table again, she requested the check. Jerry's reaction was one of shock. What's going on? He demanded. Jerry, I don't think this is going to work out, Paula said calmly, handing her credit card to the waiter. Sensing the tension, the waiter discreetly inquired if everything was okay. We're fine, Jerry retorted rudely as the waiter retrieved Paula's card and left the table. Leaning in with his elbows on the table, he whispered loudly, So you're breaking up with me because I'm a teacher? Paula glanced around, noticing some patrons staring at them. She kept her voice low and replied, We were never together. Plus, I can't be with someone I can't trust. In desperation, Jerry attempted to reason with her. Wait a minute, Paula. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I should have told you. Let's just talk about this. As he pleaded in a gentle tone, he reached for her hand. It was evident to Paula how deluded Jerry was to think that things could be okay after what had transpired. Recalling that she was dealing with someone mentally unstable, She decided it was best to lead Jerry on. She pulled her hand away slowly and replied, "I'm just gonna need a little time to process, okay? Can you just please give me some time?" Jerry let out a disappointed sigh, but a glimmer of hope eased the tension between them. Moments later, the waiter returned to their table with the receipt book and placed it beside Paula. "Thank you, ma'am. You two have a great evening," he said, and then left. Paula opened the book to sign the slip and noticed a note written on her copy. It read, "If you need an escort to your car, just scratch your nose." She looked up and saw her waiter making eye contact with her. Paula discreetly scratched her nose, grabbed her purse, and slowly stood up to leave. Jerry stood up with her. As they walked towards the exit, Jerry suggested, "Well, at least let me walk you to your car." "No, I'll be fine," answered Paula. As they approached the front lobby, she noticed her waiter finishing what looked like a conversation with a tall, muscular man dressed in all black at the front door. As the waiter went back to the dining room, the man in black approached Paula. "I hope you two enjoyed your evening. I'm here to walk you to your car, ma'am," said the gentleman. This infuriated Jerry. "So you think I'm going to hurt you? Huh, Paula?" "Sir, is there a problem?" asked the bouncer. "Yes, there is a problem. Paula, can I talk to you?" Jerry said, grabbing her arm. The bouncer intervened, breaking Jerry's grip, and stood in front of him like a wall. "Sir, we can do this the easy way or the hard way," the bouncer warned. Jerry backed down. "Hey, I'm cool, man," he said with a smirk on his face. He glanced at Paula one last time and left through the front doors. "I'm so sorry about that," said Paula with embarrassment. "No need to apologize on his account, ma'am. I just want to make sure you get home safe," replied the bouncer as he walked with Paula to her car. "Thank you so much," she said. Just a few feet from her car, Paula scanned the parking lot and remarked, "I hope he's not out here waiting for me." "He better not be," replied the man. The slight humor in his tone gave Paula temporary comfort. They finally approached the car, and the bouncer opened the door for her. "Thank you so much. What is your name, sir?" Paula asked, looking into his eyes for the first time. She noticed his kind and handsome features. "Glenn, and you?" "I'm Paula." "Well, Paula, if you ever need security, give me a call." The bouncer handed her his card. "You gonna be okay?" he asked. "I think so. I'm just filled with so many emotions right now." Paula wanted to confide in Glenn, but she knew it was inappropriate, so she refrained. "Anyways, thanks again, Glenn, for your help." "Anytime." Glenn tapped the roof of Paula's car twice and gave her a thumbs up as she closed the door. Meanwhile, tucked away in a dark part of the parking lot, Jerry witnessed Paula's exchange with the bouncer and grew extremely jealous. Paula surveyed her surroundings from her car, making sure she didn't see any signs of Jerry, then drove off. Paula arrived home to find her kids still awake, waiting for her return from her outing. She had told them she was going out with Gloria that night to keep them from worrying. They asked how her time was with Aunt Gloria, and she assured them she had fun. After reminding Marcus and Maria that it was their school night, Paula sent them to bed. Finally, in privacy, Paula called Gloria to recap on how their plan went. The ladies talked, exhilarated from the success of their agenda. "I just can't believe we actually pulled it off," said Paula. "Hell yeah, we did that," Gloria gloated. "We have plenty of stuff to build a case on him, too," she added. While on the phone, Gloria detailed all the creepy stuff she found in Jerry's house and asked if Paula was ready to see it. Paula hesitated, then agreed, and then braced herself as Gloria sent her all the pictures and evidence she discovered at Jerry's house. Paula looked through some of the pictures and was mortified by what she saw. Gloria then asked how it went with Jerry, and Paula shared in detail, including how an altercation almost took place between Jerry and Glenn. After some more exchange, they decided to meet the following day at Paula's house to press forward. Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, hours have passed, and Jerry was still lurking in the restaurant parking lot. He observed the place, watching all the workers leave, when he finally spotted Glenn coming out of the side door. Jerry got out of his car with a crowbar in his hand. With the bouncer's back turned, Jerry struck him hard from behind and watched his body fall to the ground. Just as Jerry was about to hit him again, a restaurant worker came out and saw what was happening. Jerry dropped the crowbar and ran in a panic, then got into his car and drove away. The restaurant worker called 911 immediately and tended to Glenn, who was lying on the ground in pain. Concurrently, Jerry sped down the street frantically, realizing that he may have been in big trouble. When he arrived home, his mind was racing with thoughts of what had transpired. Seeking solace, he immediately opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. With trembling hands, he guzzled down the whole bottle, the cold liquid failing to quell the storm within him. After a few quick swallows and breaths, Jerry reached for another beer. The metal cap popped off with a hiss as he twisted it open. He took another long sip. The alcohol burned his throat as it went down, momentarily numbing his senses. Minutes passed, and Jerry found himself in a calmer state, though the tension lingered in the air like an ominous cloud. It was then that an idea, born of desperation and fueled by a desire for retribution, took root in his mind. With purposeful steps, he made his way into his office. He opened a cabinet where he stored beakers and other chemistry tools. He retrieved a small plastic container filled with a light blue liquid. With precision, Jerry grabbed a sheet of blank paper and placed it inside an envelope. His hands were gloved in medical latex as he dipped his fingers into the clear blue substance. He carefully glided his fingers over the front and back of the paper, leaving behind a trail of faint blue lines. He allowed the liquid to dry and become translucent. Jerry then returned to his car with the letter in his hand and drove into the night. Concurrently, at the restaurant, the police interrogated Glenn, who still bore the physical and emotional scars of the attack. Despite his pain, Glenn remained steadfast, his determination unwavering as he recounted the events that had unfolded previously. When asked if he wished to press charges, Glenn responded with a resounding yes. While the officers discussed their next course of action to find the assailant, the restaurant manager gave the officers the access to footage of the outside surveillance cameras. Meanwhile, Jerry's car prowled the dimly lit streets, stalking Paula's residence like a predator on the hunt. He parked at the end of the block and turned off his headlights to ensure no witnesses. With silent steps, he approached Paula's home. As he neared the house, Jerry's eyes flickered to the upstairs window, where a solitary light pierced the night like a beacon. Jerry slipped the letter inside Paula's mailbox and walked away swiftly back to his car. Chapter 7, One Last Attempt. The following day dawned with the typical activity of Marcus and Maria heading off to school. Unlike any other time, Paula stood outside and watched her kids get on the bus safely, then went back into her house and locked her doors tightly. Paula didn't get much sleep as the events of the debacle at the restaurant played out in her mind through the night. To get her day started, she made herself a smoothie and then did some exercises for about 30 minutes. She felt more alive, yet still anxious, so she decided to call Gloria to confirm their time to meet and go over the evidence she gathered. After their conversation, Paula decided to retrieve the mail. She leered through the living room drapes, casing the neighborhood surroundings. She saw her neighbor walking their dog and a couple of ladies power walking, which made her feel more at ease. Paula stepped out onto the porch and made her way to the mailbox and embraced the crisp morning air. She opened her mailbox and retrieved the handful of envelopes. With measured movements, Paula withdrew the letters and retreated back into the comforting sanctuary of her home. She settled into the cozy confines of her living room and methodically sifted through the assortment of letters. She opened the blank envelope, not realizing there was no address. After noticing the blank contents inside the envelope, Paula grew confused, followed by a disquieting sense of unease that settled upon her shoulders like a heavy shroud. She got up to throw the unneeded mail away when a sudden wave of dizziness washed over her, threatening to sweep her into the abyss. Paula grew more nervous from the foreign sensation and decided to sit back down. As she staggered into the living room, the world spun dizzily around her. With each faltering step, the ground seemed to shift beneath her feet, causing her to collapse to the floor. Moments later, as Paula laid sprawled upon the floor, her world fading into darkness, a shadowy figure emerged from the depths of her home. Jerry's form loomed ominously in the dim light, a silent specter haunting the edges of her consciousness. "It didn't have to be this way," said Jerry. His voice echoed through the cavernous expanse of the room, putting Paula to sleep. It's the middle of the evening, and Marcus and Maria returned home from school after attending their school's football game. As they called out for their mother, the unfamiliar silence that greeted them dawned uneasiness. Their mother was usually home at that hour. They anxiously surveyed the familiar surroundings of their home, searching for any trace of their missing mother. Maria immediately called her mom's phone, with Marcus hovering over, only to discover that the ringing sound was coming from the kitchen counter. They rushed to the kitchen to discover that their mother's phone, purse, and car keys have been left behind. "Look, her car is still here too," Maria cried. "Where is she, Marcus?" "I don't know. Let's call Auntie Gloria. Maybe she knows something." Just as Marcus began to dial, their doorbell rang. Marcus answered the door to find Gloria out on the porch. Marcus opened the door swiftly. "Gloria! Thank God! I was just about to call you," expressed Marcus as Gloria stepped into the house. "What's going on?" Gloria asked with grave concern. "Our mom's not here, and she left everything. Her phone and car is still here," said Maria. "What time did y'all get home?" Gloria asked. "Just now, and she's usually home by now. I'm worried." The children's frantic explanation of their mother's disappearance prompted Gloria to take action. They reached out to the authorities, but were met by the frustrating response that 24 hours must pass before a missing person report can be filed. As Gloria recalled the findings from last night's investigation, she had an unsettling idea of where her best friend could be. "Come on, let's get out of here," she said. "I think I may know where your mom is." Meanwhile, the eerie silence of Jerry's house is shattered by the desperate cries of Paula, who awakens in the dimly lit basement. Her senses are dulled by grogginess. She's disoriented and terrified, and she calls out for help, her frantic pleas echoing off the cold walls. Her cries summoned Jerry, who emerged from the shadows with a sinister gleam in his eyes. Paula's blood ran cold as she locked eyes with her captor, a wave of terror washing over her. "What do you want from me?" her voice trembling with fear. "I want you to be mine," Jerry replied, his voice dripping with deranged obsession. "That's all I ever wanted." Paula's heart sunk as the horrifying truth dawned on her. Jerry's twisted obsession with her has driven him to unspeakable lengths. Having a moment of clarity, Paula asked, "Did you kill my Chris?" Exuding reasoning, Jerry replied, "He was in the way. Plus, he tried to get rid of me, him and my father, by sending me away to that place. So, it was just collateral damage. Besides, he wasn't right for you, Paula. Any fool can see that," he continued while stroking Paula's face. Burning with rage and hate, Paula screamed at the top of her lungs. "You're a sick, twisted bitch!" Jerry's eyes widened at the slur. "That's right," said Paula. "I know who you really are. You are Jessica Stevenson. So you stalked me for, 20 years in hopes to somehow win me over? I mean, what kind of person does that? I barely even knew you or even wanted to know you. I could never love someone like you." Paula's heavy breathing echoed in the damp basement walls as Jerry absorbed in Paula's confession. Then he calmly replied, "That's okay. This will all be over soon," as he inched closer to her with a syringe like a weapon. Paula kicked and screamed frantically until Jerry muffled her mouth with tape. But before he can carry out his sinister intentions, the piercing ring of the doorbell shattered his twisted plans in their tracks. Jerry gathered himself in haste, then went upstairs to answer the door. The doorbell rang again, and Jerry's heart pounded as he peered through the peephole. His breath caught in his throat at the sight of 2 police officers standing on his doorstep. He tried to steady himself before opening the door, while his mind raced with fear and uncertainty. "Good evening, officers. What can I do for you?" "Are you Jerry Clemens?" inquired the male officer. His tone was grave. "Yes, that's me. What's this about?" Jerry asked, his anxiety mounting with each passing second. Downstairs, Paula struggled with the tape binding her mouth. With a surge of desperation, she managed to loosen it enough to let out a muffled scream. As the officers were explaining the reason for their visit to Jerry, they were distracted by Paula's faint scream. They both exchanged a tense glance, and their instincts kicked in as they recognized the urgency of the situation. "Sir, is there someone else here?" asked the female officer as she gripped her satchel. "No, just me. I think I may have left the TV on or something," Jerry lied as his eyes darted towards the basement where Paula's cries grew louder with each passing moment.
Help!
Paula's desperate cries subtly pierced through the air, alerting the officers to take action. "Put your hands against the wall, now!" the male officer commanded, his voice firm as he pushed Jerry against the wall and began to handcuff him. The female officer followed the sounds of Paula's screams down into the basement as she held her gun tightly. The officer finds Paula strapped to the beam and puts her gun back in her satchel. As she unties Paula from the beam, she says, "It's going to be all right, ma'am." Tears streamed down Paula's face as she pleaded with the officer to reassure her children that she was okay. Her heart was aching with the thought of their worry and fear. "We'll make sure they're informed, ma'am," the officer promised. "How long have you been here?" "I think since this morning," Paula replied, her voice still trembling with emotion. "I know this might sound like a dumb question, but would you like to press charges, ma'am?" the officer inquired. "Absolutely," Paula answered. Outside Jerry's residence, the darkness was pierced by the flashing lights of the police cars, casting an eerie glow over the neighborhood. A few curious neighbors had gathered, their hushed murmurs filling the air as they speculated about the scene unfolding before them. Momentarily, Gloria pulled up to the side curb of Jerry's house, and Marcus and Maria jumped out of the car with Gloria behind them. "Mom!" Paula heard the voices of her children as they ran into her arms. She embraced them intensely in tears. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked. I'm fine. I love you both so much." Paula grabbed Gloria into the group hug, thanking her for everything. "I'm just so relieved. Thank God." "Where is that asshole?" asked Gloria, while scoping the slew of police cars parked outside of Jerry's driveway. Paula caught sight of Jerry in one of the police car vehicles as it was leaving the driveway, and Paula shook her head in disgust at the sight of him, yet relieved knowing that it was finally over. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's story, please like and subscribe. It would absolutely make my day. Bye now.